We are live.
Hello and welcome back to Double A Sports. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond,
And I'm Aditya.
and today we are doing the trade corner, discussing some NBA trades that we think are going to happen or, could happen, are more likely than others to happen. Um, so you want to just go ahead and get into it, Aditya?
Let's do it.
All
So,
right.
I'm sorry. Which one are you starting with?
In my mind, in my list, I have the best, most realistic one. I don't know about most realistic one, but the one that I actually ran through a trade machine and got the money to match and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Um, for Domantas Sabonis.
Yes.
Um,
So, I guess to clarify for the people, this video is going to focus on the Kings. For those that are not fully tapped in, they're looking at a full rebuild. They're blowing up this weird team they've put together, and so we're going to be simulating, or not simulating, but talking through some trade situations for how the Kings can rebuild again.
yeah. So the first one I got, this one's a little bit of a doozy. Um, but I want to let you know, or I want to see what you think about this, and maybe we can adjust some of the compensation. Maybe make it more realistic. I may have gone a little bit overboard with the compensation for this player, but let's go ahead and start. Domantas Sabonis
Ooh.
is acquired
Yep.
by the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh,
He is
interesting.
acquired for a package centered around Bones Highland that also
Oh,
include
wait, Bones Highland is on the Timberwolves?
he's on a 1 year minimum.
Okay.
So this package is centered around Bones Highland. Also includes Rob Dillingham,
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Gobert,
Okay.
their 2028 first round pick, and their 2032 first round pick. Now, the 2032 first round pick was one that I kind of put in there because I was like, I don't know if that other compensation's enough without that.
Right.
Let's discuss this a little bit.
Okay. So Sabonis for Bones Highland, Rob Dillingham, Rudy Gobert, and you said two first round picks?
Yep, 28
Okay.
and 32.
Now that's interesting because so from the Kings' perspective, you're really just trading for potential upside in Rob Dillingham, which I don't know if that's fully there, but maybe. And that is a Kings type of move player to trade for with like really high value. Uh, and you get two future first round picks, but from a team that's going to be good for the foreseeable future as long as Anthony Edwards is healthy in there.
Right.
One one question I have for you though is, do you think the Timberwolves would want to trade Gobert for Sabonis? Because that is a complete 180 when you're talking about skill sets. You're
So
going
that
from one of the
one,
best defensive bigs in the game that can anchor in a defense by himself to the opposite, a guy who doesn't really have any defense but offensively can run the offense, can score from, basically anywhere inside the three-point line and,
right.
so
And I think that's a great point to bring up. Um, this for me was basically an admission from the Timberwolves that in order to get better, they're going to need to change their identity because with the current roster and the money they have doled out, they just are not going to get much better. Like, you know what I mean? They don't really have the money to make a huge free agency signing right now.
yep.
But they do have the assets to maybe make a trade. And if they I think that they're kind of in a position where they can, change their identity right now and with Anthony Edwards as their, core piece, still take a major step up. And I think that this move, like, first of all, I think that those two together could lead the number one offense in the NBA. I think that
I
that is a
agree.
very interesting combination of skill sets. I think the two-man game with Sabonis and Anthony Edwards would elevate each other. Um, I see a lot of you know promise in an offense that's really run by those two. With Sabonis kind of leading a lot of the inside the paint offense, Anthony Edwards leading the perimeter offense, and them both kind of just kicking it back and forth to each other. I really like that duo. And for the Timberwolves, they don't really lose a lot outside of they swap Gobert for Sabonis, but I think that's a fairly equal trade in terms of impact and value, at least offensively versus defensively. I think Sabonis could have a similar impact offensively in terms of addition to what Rudy Gobert subtracts for the Timberwolves.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know. They don't really give up a bunch of other rotation pieces. I am out on Rob Dillingham as a legitimate NBA player, I think, but I don't know if that means that the actual NBA is. I think you
Right.
can still maybe put him in a trade package and get some value out of him.
So, I mean, I don't hate this. It's not bad. Another question I have a follow up. What becomes of Julius Randle? Because Julius Randle right now for the Timberwolves is averaging 25, 7, and 6. He's having a very good
Yeah.
season, and I don't know if him and Sabonis can necessarily coexist. Because I mean, with this, you're running Sabonis at the center position, right? You're not benching Julius Randle
Yes,
here.
but I also think that Sabonis is kind of your I don't offensive captain, I guess. I think he's running your offense. He's you
More
know
than Ant?
more than Mike Conley, who would be the point guard.
Well, sure, that's fair.
Um, and I think that this offense would be a two-man show with Sabonis and Ant. I think Randall would have to take a smaller role, but I do think a player like Randall next to Sabonis takes some of the offensive rim pressure off of him. And I think you're maybe remember having some flashbacks of the Sabonis and Miles Turner
A
years.
little bit. I'd be lying if I said I
Um,
wasn't.
but one thing that I would say to quell that fear is I think that Randall is a more versatile offensive player than Miles Turner was at that point and is now.
Mm-hmm.
And Domantas Sabonis, I think, is a more versatile passer than he was then. I think that the Kings have really opened up a lot of his passing skill set in a way that I think if you put a big forward next to him, Julius Randle can also get hot from three.
Yeah.
That's big. He's a good cutter. He's good in the post. He's a good slasher. I I see the worry there, but I would silence that worry with I think it's a different situation. Sabonis is a better player than he was. Julius Randle is a more versatile offensive player than Miles Turner was at the time.
Yeah.
I see that as a better fit now.
Okay. I don't hate it. Um, Now I have a proposed Domantas Sabonis trade as well. I don't know necessarily if the money works. I haven't looked up specific contracts. I guess I can real quick just to see what we're working with here. But my proposed Domantas Sabonis trade involves the Portland Trailblazers. This is a team I know you going into the season projected that the Trailblazers would trade for Zion Williamson. I
Mm-hmm.
think they trade for, well, I don't think they do, but I would like to see them trade for Domantas Sabonis, and I think they can slide him back to the four. My proposed trade involves, again, under the impression that the Kings are just ready to hit a full rebuild and, you know, don't see any future with this team. I think you can build a trade around Scoot Henderson because we talked about this in the last video. about where we both respectively stand on Scoot. And for me, I think his time in Portland is he's just been super injured. He hasn't really fit in with this offense super well. I think a change of scenery and maybe giving him his own team could be beneficial to the future, where you can see more of what he can do, kind of isolated, I guess, from all the other factors around this Trailblazers team. And from the Trailblazers perspective, they're ninth in the West. They've just lost four in a row and slid down in the standings. They're 6-9 now, but you have Denny playing at an all-star caliber level. You have Shaden Sharp playing amazing basketball. You have Drew Holiday averaging 17, 8, and 5. And I think you have a lot of pieces here that could be really good. And so I think you'd have to make money work, which tends to be the problem with this trade. So like right
Mm-hmm.
now, my throw out there trade would be Scoot Henderson and Jeremy Grant, and you get back Sabonis and another player that makes money work, and that you can throw in your rotation. Which I don't know exactly who that would be yet. If you want bench scoring, you can get like a Malik Monk or a Dennis Schroeder, but the general I guess groundwork for this trade is assuming the Kings are entering a full rebuild. Sabonis for Scoot. And the Kings
I really,
honestly might have to throw a pick in there because, Scoot and Jeremy Grant is a very valuable package, but I don't know.
I would agree. I really like that trade. I think that makes Portland significantly better right now.
Yeah.
Um, I they're kind of doing this thing where they've got like Drew as a ball distributor sometimes, and Denny as a ball distributor sometimes, and then like sometimes Shaden Sharp is the distributor. It's just it's a little bit weird, and I think if you added Sabonis in, it would do a similar thing to what I've kind of proposed with the Minnesota trade, including him, which is basically it would kind of bring some order in with a passer who can, I more with the Trailblazers than the Timberwolves for sure, because like I really don't think the Trailblazers have like a real legit ball handler distributor right now. Denny's pretty good at it, but I kind of prefer Denny as a score first guy,
Yeah.
and I think if Sabonis comes in, that really opens up a lot of Denny's abilities. I think it kind of opens up Shaden Sharp on the perimeter. Like I think losing Jeremy Grant's tough.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but
But
like
I
I
think
think
the only
Drew,
reason I did Jeremy Grant is because you do need the money to work, and I think Drew Holiday's too important to them right now.
I would agree.
But I know we brought up the Sabonis fit with like a Julius Randle or a Miles Turner. I think him and Donovan Clingan could do what the Rockets do with Sengun and Steven Adams and just like dominate the boards every single night. Because Donovan Clingan, as of right now, I mean, he is just a good rebounder on his own. I mean, just last night he had 17 points, 21 rebounds against the Chicago Bulls. Like he can get boards. He's averaging 10 on the season. Like Sabonis is another guy. He's like a walking triple double. He can get rebounds. Like they could dominate boards, which I think would propel them to some more success than they're seeing right now. Um, so I don't know. I think it could be good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like that one a lot.
Sweet.
Um, you want to go down to Dallas, or you want to stay in Sacramento?
Um, I mean, the problem with Sacramento is that I really just don't like. I don't know what the market for Zach Levine and Demar is right now. Like I think,
The, the Zach Levine market, I think, would horrify you,
yeah, like I think they
and
have
I say
to,
that with no inside knowledge.
like I think they have to probably give up assets to get rid of those guys right now. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you can get something, but I can't imagine you're getting more than salary dumps and like maybe a pick.
They would have to swallow their pride to get assets out of those guys, because I think the only team that would actually trade plus assets for either of them is the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you want to make the Golden State Warriors better right now, like
sure. Yeah,
especially if you're Sacramento, because like that is, you know, it's not, but it is a rivalry. kind of like,
There's
you
animosity from one side for sure.
yeah, you certainly don't want to make like Golden State better, and I think that would do it because it would give them another competent scorer, which they need. Um, I think that I could see like a Golden State being like, here, fuck it, here's a first round pick for DeMar, sort of thing. Um, but I don't really know how the money works on that.
DeMar's
So
making
yeah,
25 mil a year, so his contract's not as bad as Zach Levine's.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of why I think it's Lamar and not Levine that Golden State goes after if they do.
Yeah,
But I
but
really think that's the only team that's going to be like, yeah, here's something positive for this guy, and I don't
right,
know if Sacramento's willing to make them better.
yeah. So I don't know. Those two trades, like we could mock something up, but they're kind of uninteresting to me. Um,
Yeah.
we can let's head down to Dallas. I like that idea. Anthony Davis is on the trade market. Well, actually, there have been conflicting reports because Mark Cuban said we're not trading him, we want to win. And then in the same day, there was reports that the Mavericks were looking for trades for Anthony Davis, which I
I'm gonna
think. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you keep going.
Okay. I was going to say, I think this leads to some of the discussion that was being had around Nico Harrison, which was that Nico Harrison and maybe some other people in the franchise, maybe the DuPont family, I don't know, were working very hard to like push Mark Cuban away from his front office role.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say every time Mark Cuban opens his mouth, it sounds like a person that's being cheated on. Y-
yeah.
like just like just like just saying the exact like wrong thing that's not happening that everybody besides him somehow knows before him, and then it's like,
yeah.
what? Of course I don't have her location. Like it's just everything he says is just shit like that. And I'm like, at this point, I do not take a lot of what Mark Cuban says seriously in regards to the Mavericks, which is sad.
That is sad,
Um,
but fair.
I personally think that the Mavericks um, made the right decision with the Nico Harrison firing, and now need to make the right decision and trade Anthony Davis. And also, they need to trade Klay Thompson, which I think is another player we can kind of get into on this. Um, I think that both of those guys are still positive assets, especially Anthony Davis. Um, and I don't know if you want to start off. I've got one kind of roughly drawn up for uh, Anthony Davis.
Let's hear it.
So I was looking around and I was thinking, what are the teams that have a player on similar salary to Davis that has a team ready to compete around Anthony Davis if they trade that player? And there was really only like one that I thought of where it would be logical for them to still trade for Anthony Davis after trading that player, and that was the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young.
Oh,
Um, I think that the Atlanta Hawks are in a very interesting position right now because we've talked about this, they have built this roster around Trae Young, around his skill set,
yes.
and they are better when he doesn't play.
Correct. Yeah, we talked about this in the last episode that like they have been winning with Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Nikhil Alexander Walker, just like going out and balling.
Yeah. So what if they traded Trae Young in a package for Anthony Davis? And I think that, maybe the answer is like, well, why would Dallas do that? Because Dallas is in the middle of this rebuild, and getting a high volume player like Trae Young may stunt Cooper Flag's growth. And I would generally agree with that, but I also think the answer is that the Dallas Mavericks are not well run right now,
Yeah, sure.
and I think that a trade like this is fairly enticing to get butts back in seats. because you also have the narrative of like, oh, Trae Young's kind of the one that got away in Dallas. Not really. Luka
because
Doncic is the
Luca was
one that got
better.
away.
Yeah,
But like, you did draft him and then you traded for him on draft night. So like, you could get some decent marketing in there, like, which I think that is what they care about right now. And
sure.
Cooper Flag is not that guy yet. Now, if they want to wait about a year, Cooper Flag I think will be that guy. But if they want to do it right now, I think Trae Young's the way to do that. So I think that they trade Anthony Davis in a first round pick, not this year, but I think next year or 2 years, for Trae Young, Luke Kennard to make money work, and like Caleb Houston or something. Like, I don't know, one of their younger guys. Uh,
I don't hate
and I
that.
think that that makes Atlanta better immediately in the short term and gives Dallas another, kind of rebuild piece. I think Trae Young's getting a lot of bad press right now. I don't completely hate Trae Young as like a player right now, and I think with Cooper Flag and PJ Washington and Derek Lively, that's not a bad young core.
Right. No, I don't think
Um,
so at all.
so that's kind of where I landed with an Anthony Davis trade. Is like Atlanta's probably the team that's has the right combination of like, you know, we've built this team around Trae Young. He's not here, and we're still winning. Let's go get
Yeah.
Anthony Davis.
No, I like that trade a lot. I actually was thinking about because when we were thinking about, I guess spoiler for people, but I was personally thinking about Trey Young trades as well, just because, like we said, I think this team doesn't it doesn't fit him, I guess.
Right.
So I like that a lot. And I mean, like you said, I don't think it necessarily stunts Cooper Flag's development in this case. Cooper Flag's not a point guard. I think he can benefit
He
from
is
having one of the
not.
best point guards in the world, like one of the best playmakers in the game, helping him ease his transition into the NBA. Like, I don't hate that at all. I do think, like, the Mavericks aren't winning a championship anytime soon. So I don't know exactly how
No.
long Trey Young's tenure lasts in Dallas. It seems like maybe more of just a stopping point for temporarily. But I think I don't I think given the circumstances, like that's about as good of a package you can get for Anthony Davis. Because I don't think Anthony Davis's value is like a bit low, but it's certainly
No.
not like it's certainly
If
not
you're a
you
if you're
know
Dallas, yeah,
you
like
kind of the market's limited. There aren't too many teams looking to trade for a going into next year 33-year-old player who's been dealing with all these injuries over the last few years.
yeah.
The only concern I'd have for Atlanta going forward with that is injury concerns because then
Oh, for
you're looking
sure.
at a Anthony Davis, Kristaps Porzingis backcourt or front court, and like I know they have like Onyeka Okongwu and stuff too, but that is concerning.
Right.
And also Anthony Davis hates playing center because he's a little sissy boy, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't know. I think on paper though that does work, and for a team that I hate to say it, functions would just getting Trey Young off the roster is probably the most beneficial thing for them, which is disgusting to say as a big Trey Young fan. But getting an all star caliber big in return is certainly a plus.
Yeah. Agreed.
My trade is one that again I don't necessarily know the feasibility of it, but it's something I was thinking about. It's
That's what
almost
the
thinking
trade corner's about, baby.
that's right. We're freestyling here.
Yeah.
Um, last episode, I mentioned that there was a team out there that was interesting to me that I just hadn't really watched at all because they're kind of an afterthought in my mind. However, they have been on a bit of a run recently, and that team is the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors are currently 10
Ooh.
and 5. They're on a 5-game win streak, second in the Eastern Conference. I think they see this start and they capitalize because they want to win. Um, this is
I
a
also
tough
thought about this one for AD.
this is a tough trade to work through because a lot of their players are the same position. Um, and I think Brandon Ingram has to be in the trade just to make money work.
Yes. Yes.
And so my trade proposition was Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, and Colin Murray Boyles. giving the Mavericks a few young players to build around in Colin Murray Boyles and Grady Dick, who
God.
can get more touches, hopefully, in Dallas and maybe turn into something next to Cooper Flag. I also have the Raptors throwing in their very own first round picks in 2026 and 2027.
I really like that.
And in return, they get obviously Anthony Davis, but I also think they can get. Uh, I don't. Now I don't necessarily know if they'd want D'Angelo Russell, so maybe they go for Jaden Hardy or I don't know who else. What other guards are on that team? But I think they do
Clay?
need to get. I don't. We'd have. I think we'd have to make money work differently for that. I don't know exactly. I was thinking more
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
backup
right.
point guard
No.
because right now
Yeah,
their
no.
starting point guard's Emmanuel Quickly, and they kind of need a guard.
I forget D'Lo's making like 6 million.
Yeah. So maybe it is D'Lo. I know there's been some negative press around D'Lo in Dallas, which is fair. I don't think he's a great NBA player at this point, and I think body image wise, or not body image, body language wise, he seems a little too nonchalant. Like he just doesn't really care all that much. Which I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think the Mavs or not the Mavs, the Raptors need a point guard anyway. So I think AD D'Angelo Russell traded to Toronto for Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, Colin Murray Boyles, a 2026 first and a 2027 first. And I think money works there.
I like that a lot.
Thank you.
I
I
like
just
that one.
yeah, I think especially like the Pistons are the team to beat out East right now, but
Yep.
the door has never been more open in the Eastern Conference to make the finals. And I think for a
Yep.
team that post Kawhi has really just kind of faded into the background, like this could be a splash.
I would agree 100% unequivocally. I think that that
Um,
is maybe the best trade that has been proposed today. Um,
that means a lot. Thank you.
of course, yeah. I like that one a lot because it is a splash move for Toronto for a team that has tried and failed to make some splash moves over the last couple years.
Yeah.
Um, I do think it kind of guts their core a little bit because you are trading Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick, who are two very important pieces there right now.
They are the thing with me that like Grady Dick plays like 20 minutes a game. Like he's a bench guy
Right.
for them. Like obviously I think he could be part of something for
He's a
them. He
guy
just
where it's
he's
like he'll cut like twice a month he'll score like 20 points, and you're like that's a piece there.
right. And
But I
like I
think that yeah,
sorry,
you may
I
have a point putting him in that package
and the thing I think Grady Dick
over
can be
anybody
good.
else.
Like he was good last year. He's shown flashes that he can be a great perimeter scorer or very good perimeter scorer at the very least. And like I just don't know if he's going to get that opportunity on this team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like they have so many wings, and like and in trading away three of them to get Anthony Davis, you know, maybe something opens up for him. So maybe like, I don't know, you can try to keep him, but I just when I look at this the core that the Raptors have kind of assembled over the last 2 years, he just kind of seems like he's been pushed to the wayside a little bit.
Dick Flag 28 baby.
Dude, that'd be awesome. Um, and then also with this trade is you keep Jakob Pertl, so AD can run the four, and he doesn't have to really
Yes.
worry about that as much.
Ooh, good thinking there.
Yeah. And then I didn't really have anything mocked up here, but I did see that like the Bulls were one of the teams that were like really considering going after AD, which again I don't know exactly know what that trade looks like. I haven't mocked anything up for that, but it is interesting to think about because they're 8-6. You know, they went on a bit of a skid at the time of our last recording, but since then they beat the Nuggets, which is a very good win, and they beat the Blazers, which is another pretty good win. They play again tonight against the Heat. Like they're looking decent again, and I
I
think
feel like I'm having deja vu hearing you say that the Chicago Bulls are looking to go after Anthony Davis. like, like that
uh,
feels like one of the most consistent headlines of the last decade in the NBA, where it's
well
like,
he's
oh,
from
Anthony Davis is going to be a free agent this summer. Chicago's in the mix. Like, oh
well
yeah, no shit, he's from Chicago.
yeah, and I think he said he wanted to play there at some point. I don't know, and right now the Bulls are in a position where they're decent And they kind of slipped through the standings, but they were at the top of the East for a second. Like they could climb back up to 2, 3, or 4. Make a push.
Yeah.
And again, with how open the East is right now, I would not be surprised if like every single Eastern Conference team that is just like kind of mediocre is like gunning and like trying super hard to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have to put boozy buckets in that trade, or do you go like or something?
That is tough. Because that's yeah. I guess I don't know anything about. I don't think you can trade Vooch right now because again, who's your center then if you trade for AD?
Anthony
Um,
Davis.
okay, well, then that presents its own set of problems. But I also like if I'm a franchise, if I'm the Bulls front office looking at this, why am I trading my super promising young athletic player for AD for like 2 years? And who knows how much
Right.
he'll even play in those 2 years? That's the hard part about trading for AD because he has 2 years making like $60 some million, and then he's got a player option for a third year making like $70 million. And by that point, he's going to be 36 years old. Who knows the status of his legs at that point, like his career? Who knows, right? Like it's.
Right.
I feel like you gotta really be committed to this season if you wanna make that trade.
Agreed.
Um, you got any other AD trades?
Nothing AD related.
All right, then I think we can let's end this one here because we're at 30 minutes, which seems good for this.
All right.
Sabonis and AD trades seems like a productive episode. Um, there's still for people watching, there's still a lot of other trades we want to talk about. We're just going to split it up into smaller, more digestible content
Yeah.
for now. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for some future trade corner and general basketball videos coming your way.
Bye.
Bye.